So you have rhyme, right? And rhyme is not just basic shame, game. That's called an end rhyme, right? There's a lot more to rhyming. You're rhyming with vowels in that aspect at the end. But there's also something called accents. And accents comes from poetry, because that's what rapping is. It's poetry. It's a form of poetry. And accents are the stress points of each letter or a word. You know what I'm saying? So the S, the stress point of the actual letter S is, that's the emphasis on that letter. So in a word, in the word same, the access point is the S, right? Because it dominates that whole word when you say it. You know what I'm saying? It's a critical part of that word, because without that, if you change the stress point to um, G, is game, right? So that part, that's the accent. That's the most dominant part, and that's part of rhyming, right? So when I say something like Madam, rhythmatic, mathematician, it be colder in December, November, September, I'm missing taker, right? So right there, a lot of people heard the madam, you know, the rhyming of the vowels. But if you notice those stress points, I lined it up to a point where it's hitting the same way that the vowels are, but the majority of people don't notice it directly, but you can hear it and it sounds appealing to the ear. Madam River, Maddie, mathematician, it be colder in the summer, November, September, I'm missing, September, I'm missing. You see that? How I lined up the S and the T's, because they're similar? It's the same thing, and it goes unlooked by most people, and it's very important. Another thing that I want to talk about is the way you look at beats. So, let me turn this down real quick. So let me just pause it. When you're coming up to an instrumental or a beat, or if you're going a cappella, right? I'm gonna give you what I visualize, right? So I see a beat, I actually see it. I see every beat, like if there's an image to it, right? So when I see beats, it's kind of like a tunnel, right? And all the different instruments are things that, if you ever thought of like a wormhole, right? It's kind of like what I see it as, right? And there's every beat is a different kind of wormhole with different things. The hi-hats are these different things that you can see, right? And your job, right, to make it sound good, imagine your voice was a projectile, like a laser, right? And it will be bouncing around. Now, the way that you bounce around in between those walls of that tunnel, you could very well go outside of that tunnel, out into the space past that tunnel. But in order for it to work and sound appealing to the ear, you have to know exactly when to stop on each part at different speeds, right? And the more skilled you get, the faster, more complex things you could do, bounce, staying within that wormhole tunnel, right? So I'm gonna try to show you with some Jay Dilla. Try to explain it to you. And this is more complex, because Jay Dilla's making instrumentals like for people that get really into it. You know what I'm saying? They get really into the flowing. So you can hear he's setting what's called the motive. That's the tunnel. And I'm gonna catch you with something random when it drops. Just think about what I was saying about the tunnel. Listen to it. You can see it. Trumpets and everything, they're all part of that tunnel, so you gotta be clever enough to incorporate it. So he changed it like that. That's why Jay Dilla's for more complex lyricists. And that's the sample part. That's not the actual beat, but it's getting there. You can hear what he's trying to do there coming out now. Yo. Possibly they slaughtered me according to my policy. Better than the prodigy, deeper than mythology. Like Socrates, I pot the seed, bringing you democracy like government officer. Triple K, mafia, shoot you down and leverage ya. Bringing you a massacre, phenomenal proportion. Lyrics causing controversy equal to abortion. Ripping balls apart like I participate in blood extortion next to worship. And I've been publicly fantastic. I sound like bombastic, from layman to plastic, from magic chloric. See what I'm saying? So like something random, but just to uh give like a visual, like an audio visual, because that's how all this shit works. It's like some people have that sight of it's something in here because you could feel it. Like I could feel it, and people that like music a lot, you could kind of tell. You know what I'm saying? You hear somebody making an instrumental, and you start throwing a little because it just makes sense to human beings, right? It's part of us, right? Rhythm. Um, so that's the approaching the beat. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a tunnel, it's a wormhole, and if you're gonna get into the flow state, right? It's kind of like that's all you see, and you become so comfortable and incorporated with it. You know what I'm saying? Because a big part of what happens with a lot of people that rap and they have problems freestyling or even writing sometimes is because you're being too self conscious of your ability. But mostly when all the good stuff comes out, it's when you let go. And I still have problems with that too, but I'm getting better at it because I do it all the time. Okay, so there's that. Talked about rhymes and how to incorporate the accent part of rhymes, right? And we talked about seeing the instrumental and understanding where your barriers are, where you could go. Now you could do a wider range of things. It doesn't mean you're limited. See, part of the fascinating part about MCs and listening to an MC do it their own unique way is because there's literally an infinite amount of ways that you can do it. So let's see how clever you are. If you could come up with a way to approach this tunnel, this wormhole that nobody else has, right? Now some people have similar styles than other people, and that's how it is with comedy too. You study people that you like, and you kind of there's a skeleton to songs, to raps. You know what I'm saying? So I know some friends that the way they started getting good at rhyming is they would take somebody like JT Money, or they would take somebody like Bun B or fucking Nas, and you listen to their syllables, and not just the words, the syllables. It ain't hard to tell. I excel and prevail. You know what I'm saying? You could just take that dun 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 dun. That's a skeleton, right? It's something that you can hear, right? So you just put your own words into it. So then you do it for so long that you create synapses, connections inside your brain. That's how you approach it. That's how your brain understands beats. That's my thing. That's why I'm way better on boom bap beats than I am like on trap beats or anything like that. Cause that's what I love. My circuitry was developed as a kid on boom bap, on hip hop, like East Coast, Beast Coast, like, you know what I'm saying? I just understand it on such a level where, me expanding, it kind of makes my style kind of weird on certain things, but I'm practicing, so it's getting better. But anyways, approaching the beat is very important, right? And knowing technical things like rhyming. But imagery. Imagery is another thing that people think you can't practice, but you can. And I'm going to give you the game on how to practice that right now, right? So you're going to want to evoke emotion. It's the same thing as when you're doing advertising, right? Marketing, any of that. You want to target emotion, emotional response. And you may not think you're being emotionally responsive as the listener, but you are. You know what I'm saying? And so a comedian needs to learn how to manipulate people's emotions and control other people. And so does an MC or a lyricist, right? So there's a science behind the words that you use. There's a million different ways to say the same thing, and that's another thing that's impressive about people that make up their own shit. You know what I'm saying? And you want to target people's emotions. So a way that you could practice that, you have to get a notebook and a pen or a pencil, obviously, and think about something that's important to you. Now, it could be an inanimate object. It could be something, a blanket that you love, right? Or it could be a person that you love, or a place that you love, something that makes you happy, something that makes you mad. You know what I'm saying? Not to be controversial as the shit I was spitting earlier, but like say you're an extreme left person and you see a Trump flag or a Confederate flag, and you have an emotional response to that. So you're gonna want to sit down and write poetry about it, right? Write a poem about it, as basic as it comes to you, with what you know or what you don't know right now. Write a poem about it and keep writing poems about things that make you emotionally responsive, right? And when you do that, right, when you approach the beats, which you're gonna want, you do these two things separately, for a while, or you could start actually rapping whenever you want. But these things you're gonna want to do them as exercises. Write the poetry on emotionally responsive nouns. You know what I'm saying? And You're gonna want to listen to the beats that you like, listen to the rappers that you like, and listen to their rhythm and their syllables, right? And then when you listen to an instrumental, you're gonna want to create your own skeletons, your own flows. Like watch, like I'll show you. You know what I'm saying? So so I throw hi hats because I mimic my words with the hi hats a lot, and that's part of my style. That's why it's so one after the other, fucking boom 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 boom. See that right there? That's your limit. That tempo right there. That's called the motive of a song. You know who's really good at following that? Kendrick Lamar. J. Cole kind of goes outside a little bit, but he does it in a way that kind of works. But that's what I mean when I say you're gonna want to create like your own skeletons. Just throw sounds out there. You gotta get creative. To get creative, you need to let go of the bullshit. You know what I'm saying? It's the same reason like people don't like dancing because they're self-conscious. It's not gonna work if you're all like, fuck, well, that sounds fucking stupid. You're gonna say a lot of shit that sounds fucking stupid. And sometimes it's not what you say, it's how you say it. You know what I'm saying? It's very important. Very fucking important. Like Nori, like no offense, like I respect him as an MC, but not really for his lyrical content, for his lyrical structure, his not give a fuck, ride the beat, put his swagger on the beat. You know what I'm saying? And that's a big thing these days. Like not a lot of people are very lyrically competent at all, but they make you feel good. They target your emotions, and it comes from feeling shit, because human beings like to feel. Art is feeling, like real art. I'm not talking about somebody that just draws with no emotions to mimic something because they're trained and educated in it. I mean, that's still, to me, is still a fucking artist. But you know what I'm saying? Like an artist that's involved with the emotional part of creating art. It's all about feeling. So you need to let go. Just throw some shit out there on beats randomly. Write the poetry about things that emotionally make you respond. And that's to be a person of relevance. Now you could completely go the complete other way as a lyricist and be like MF Doom, where his bars, and I do this shit a lot. Some of my bars won't even have anything really to do with the other. You have to reference the previous bar a little bit, but enough to make it string along. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be a complete conceptual story. You know what I'm saying? I do this shit a lot, and it's all about just getting fucking crazy creative. Just like, yo, this dude is fucking flowing. You know what I'm saying? Like, how does he spit these words that don't really have a meaning more other than, look at this crazy pattern that I pulled out of nowhere, you know, from the great source. Because if you read Think and Grow Rich, that's the thing. There's like a source of ideas, and ideas are like things, and they're all pre-existing. And you have to land one of them in here and then put it out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're like a beacon, and that's why everything. You know what I'm saying? So like, rapping is very metaphysical. Rapping is like, when people get into that thing, that's proof of, to me, that's proof of somebody, you know, of a greater force or intelligence or source. It's proof, because the way, like when I be rapping and I do something really good, it's an experience. You experience that shit, and then when it sounds good to other people, that's because you're hearing and you're picking up on that experience, that connection to what you're doing, being manifesting, you know what I'm saying? Being like a vessel for something. You know what I'm saying? And getting good at something is basically just becoming a better vessel, more receptive to it, becoming more disconnected from yourself and your ego to allow whatever it is that you've been training to attract, you know, like skill wise, like, you know, tapping into the energy and allowing it to flow through you better. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people don't like Lil Wayne, but he's a prime example of that. A lot of people don't like Jay-Z either, but he's a prime example of that. Just getting so familiar with something that it just fucking flies out. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot more to it. So I could keep making these fucking 15, 16-minute videos all the time and still have shit to talk about. So there's like just those are some exercises and those are some concepts that you need to know before you. I mean, you don't need to. You're gonna figure it out eventually, but that you should know, and you should do. You know what I'm saying? So that's it. That's the first episode. Get you a rhyme book, practice, write the poems, listen to the instrumentals, let go, just feel that shit, and it'll become kind of therapeutic for you after a while. You just start hitting it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you get a rhythm. Like when people are fighting, they get a rhythm. That's how this shit is. That's why when I hear beat, I feel that shit, and I could tell where my limits are automatically, intuitively. You know what I'm saying? But I've kind of always been able to hear that shit. Not everybody could do that. But if you don't understand that or you don't intuitively hear that or feel that, you can train yourself to. That's a beautiful thing about being a human being. You know what I'm saying? You have both hemispheres of your brain. And just because one is, you know, by birth more powerful, it doesn't mean that the other side can't be. Like I'm not supposed to be able to be really good at math because I'm autistic and all that shit. And my creative side of my brain is very lit up. You know what I'm saying? So the other side was kind of hard for me, but I figured it out. When I thought about it different, I figured out that math is basically a language. And once I started thinking about it like that, I became good at math. You know what I'm saying? So you gotta think about, if you're one of those mathematical people, you gotta look at MCing and lyricism as a math, and that'll help you out to connect it. Like, oh, this is the formula. Da, 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 da. And then you start getting into syllables. Like this bar will have 8 syllables, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Next one I have 16. Da, 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 da. That's where you hear those little rhythms and you're like, oh shit, what the fuck is he doing? It's all just syllables. It's all techniques and tricks. You know what I'm saying? Da 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 da. Following the hi-hats. With the words, you know what I'm saying? I'm going off on a tangent, but I mean that's something you should know. But yeah, I'm gonna keep these rolling out. This is the first episode. It's not very structured. It's kind of all over the place, and I don't know if that's ever gonna stop being a thing with this, cause that's just how I am. Shit just flies into my head and just it's always firing off. You know what I'm saying? That's why I like art, cause it helps me focus. But I'm gonna upgrade over time as far as scenery and the way that I do it. So thanks for watching. Hope you learned something, and I'll see you next time.